Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation.
Well, earlier this evening, President Donald Trump released that video on Twitter. In it, he called the attack on the U.S. Capitol, quote, heinous, and said that he was outraged by the violence and destruction. He also said the rioters, quote, do not represent us. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
Welcome everyone. I'm Whitney Ward. The president also addressed the election. He did stop short of conceding, but for the first time acknowledged that he is leaving office. Now, one day after a mob laid siege to the United States Capitol, questions still remain about just how it could have even happened and now what happens next.
CBS News has confirmed that some Trump cabinet officials have discussed invoking the 25th Amendment to remove the president 2 weeks before the inauguration.
It is for this reason that I call for the vice president and members of the cabinet to ensure the next few weeks are safe for the American people and that we have a sane captain of the ship.
That is Representative Adam Kinzinger, from Republican from Illinois. He is the only GOP member of Congress to officially call for the 25th Amendment to remove the president from office. Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao resigned her post, citing Wednesday's violence as her reason for stepping down. While the cleanup continues at the Capitol, questions remain about how the mob was able to make it into the Capitol in the first place and why the police weren't better prepared to handle the planned demonstrations. The government is now moving in 6,200 National Guard members and installing 7-foot-tall fences in preparation for the inauguration. We've also learned tonight that the Capitol Police Chief has resigned, effective later this month.
And just before 4 o'clock this morning, Vice President Mike Pence did accept the electoral votes from all 50 states and declared President-elect Joe Biden the official winner. That followed that 7-hour siege of the Capitol building and more than 7 hours of debate. After authorities regained control of the building, some Republican lawmakers still publicly dropped their objections to the electoral votes, at least from certain states. And there are now just 13 days remaining in this administration, although still today there are calls for President Trump to once again be impeached or for the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment. That would remove him from office. They say he is unfit.
First, Vice President Mike Pence and a majority of the 15-member cabinet would have to declare the president unable to discharge the powers and duties of the office. At that point, the president can react. If he refutes the assessment as expected, the cabinet and vice president would have to make their case to Congress. To remove the president and put Mike Pence in power, that would take a 2/3 majority in both House and the Senate. And since Congress has 3 weeks to vote, it could be a moot issue considering that President Trump only has 13 days left in office.
Now today, Washington Senator Maria Cantwell released a statement on the efforts to remove President Trump from office. She said she supported impeaching the president before for his misuse of office. She said, I will support impeachment again for him abusing power and attempting to interfere in the election results in Georgia. Promulgating misinformation as he did yesterday about our election system is a threat to our democracy. She says he is failing to uphold our Constitution.
That mob formed in the first place because of misinformation that claimed the election was stolen from outgoing President Trump. But no evidence of widespread fraud has been proved in court in dozens of lawsuits filed in numerous states by the Trump campaign. Rather, the election was squarely won by President-elect Biden.
Now, our political reporter Casey Decker talked today with a local state rep who says Eastern Washington's own Congresswoman shares blame for inciting yesterday's chaos.
Yesterday, Congress counted the electoral vote. Normally a mere formality, this year it was tinged by politics.
President Trump has falsely claimed fraud in key swing states, and he encouraged members of Congress to raise objections. Much of his own party refused.
The voters, the courts, and the states have all spoken. They've all spoken. If we overrule them, it would damage our republic forever.
But Spokane's Congresswoman initially sided with Trump. Kathy McMorris Rodgers said in a statement Tuesday, quote, I will support the objections to electoral college vote counts in states where there have been allegations of voter fraud and questions raised about the legality of changes to state election law. Again, none of those allegations are founded. Then,
everybody stay down, get down.
Trump supporters, upset with the results of the election, raided the Capitol building. Hours after the chaos, McMorris-Rodgers reversed positions. She announced she would no longer object to the vote count. A statement read in part, quote, "We must have a peaceful transfer of power. The only reason for my objection was to give voice to the concern that governors and courts unilaterally changed election procedures." Her decisions did not go unnoticed here in Spokane.
She chose the path to put Trump over truth, and that's put our very democracy at risk.
State Representative Marcus Riccelli harshly criticized the Congresswoman on Twitter and in an interview with KREM. He says by playing into Trump's false narrative, she helped encourage the mob in the first place.
I think it's too little too late to try and walk it back. I think the concern I have is that you can't spread baseless claims and fan these flames that challenge our very democracy and then blame the people the next day that you were inciting.
He says it doesn't matter that she changed her mind eventually, that she had a duty to fight against any attempt to undermine the election.
And as one of her constituents, I'm just utterly disappointed. These types of times call for courageous leadership, not complicit cowardness.
Over the last 2 days, KREM has repeatedly requested interviews with the Congresswoman. Her office has ignored those requests. In Spokane, Casey Decker, KREM 2 News.
And we are continuing to track the latest updates from the nation's capital. For more on that situation that took place in D.C., as well as more local reaction in the Inland Northwest, just head to our website, KREM.com. All right, let's talk weather, shall we? A quiet Thursday could lead to some rain, even a chance of snow tomorrow.
Yes, meteorologist Tom Sherry is in now to let us know what we can expect. Hi, Tom.
Yeah, it looks like the snow or snow mixing with rain may move in the late afternoon and early evening hours. We won't look for much in the way of accumulation because I think we'll be above freezing. Right now, quiet, 37 degrees the current temperature. Not much in the wind department out of the northeast at 8 miles per hour, as you can see right there. Day planner forecast is calling for 30s this evening. We'll look for foggy areas overnight with a low of 30 and then 38 the expected high tomorrow. Looking ahead to the weekend, I've got mostly cloudy skies with some fog and low clouds Saturday morning. 37 will be the high and then 38 on Sunday. Here on the 6 o'clock broadcast, we bring you a 10-day outlook, and that's coming up in just about 10 minutes.
For you, Molly. Scott.
Today marks 1 year since that deadly avalanche on Silver Mountain. That day, 3 people died, 4 more were injured. This morning, at the top of the gondola, a bell ceremony and moment of silence was held to honor the lives lost that day.
KREM 2's Amanda Rowley was the only reporter at that ceremony today. She has more from those emotional moments tonight.
For you, Molly. Scott.
Had 7 people that were in the avalanche on Warner Peak, and 3 of those died. And today we're here to help honor, memorialize, and celebrate their life.
This handmade bell is dedicated here today to the 3 people whose lives were lost in the avalanche 1 year ago today here on Silver Mountain. It's set here, but shortly it will hang up on the 16-to-1 traverse.
Well, family of skiers. I actually had just met Carl on the traverse that day as he passed me and said hi to him. And Molly, of course, was from Utah, coming to visit. And Scott, we all kind of know, you all know each other behind a mask.
These 3 skiers bonded over something they never thought would happen to them. They were together when the snow tumbled down the 16-to-1 run. In fact, Bill Fuzak was trapped under several feet of snow for about an hour. He was unconscious for most of that time.
3 of us probably didn't expect to be here as things were happening. We were all buried. Fortunately, these guys only to their necks and backs of their shoulders. My angel knew where I was and knew where Ken was and helped direct everybody to find us.
It's an emotional day for these survivors to return here. But Bill, Rebecca, and Warren are grateful to be here together and to honor their friends.
The trauma from an accident like this is real. It's very real. So I'm very fortunate to have these folks here, and Ken Scott, who is not with us today. He's in Big Sky. And all of our family and friends have helped us. So many people have helped all of us.
Here we go. Heading over to the traverse.
The 3 trudged across the mountain with a crowd of at least 50 to the permanent location of the memorial bell.
Two
At 11:04, all chairlifts stopped and everyone joined in a moment of silence for Molly, Scott, and Carl. They stopped at the lodge and stopped at the Traverse, commemorating the time of the avalanche. Then everyone rang their bells and cheered in celebration of their lost friends.
It is an emotional day, but we all have hearts and we're all trying to feel what we're feeling.
A lot of happiness and sadness.
A lot of happiness and sadness, yeah.
Reporting from Silver Mountain, Amanda Rowley, KREM 2 News.
Just an amazing way to kind of commemorate those lives as a celebration of their life. It's pretty incredible.
We said this in the 5 p.m. hour, but I'm glad they have each other to kind of talk about that event through and kind of, work to heal, right?
Only they can truly understand what they went through.